Lots of people do it. It's photographs of our dinner. But how will these pictures be looked on in years to come? Well, a North Belfast history project decided to log thousands of old photos of Belfast onto Facebook. Joe Baker is involved and he joins me in the studio this evening. Joe, thanks for coming down tonight.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
First of all, where did this project start from? Where did all these photos come from?
The Glenravel project, it started in 1991, and just to clear things up, the Glenravel project is named after Glenravel Street as opposed to the Glen. And we had done a number of projects over the years, and about seven, I think we've done 7 different decades through the Heritage Lottery Fund, was massive photographic exhibitions, and I mean massive. Each exhibition had something like 1,000 photographs. And we also do magazines. Our monthly magazine is on sale every month, Old Belfast, and people are continuously asking us for photographs, and I mean continuously.
Well, where do they all come from?
Well, they come from all sorts of places. They're old newspapers. They come from private collections. I'll give you an example. One of the people that contacted us is a well-known Lisburn businessman, Richard Graham, and he has a massive collection, so his collection was amalgamated into it, and just wherever we can get them. But the idea of the site was to get the photographs to people. People were just constantly asking us for photographs, and we just needed to work out a way of getting them.
What do you think is our fascination with photographs? Is memories, nostalgia?
Well, not when you're going back to the 1890s. But
for a lot of these ones that we'll be looking at shortly, we'll be talking about, there is real memories there, whether you were alive then or not.
People recognise the photographs. If you show a photograph of Royal Avenue, there's a lot of buildings that are still there. Mm-hmm. If you show a photograph from 1880 or 1980, there's still things that people will know. And, to give an example, my personal photographs my personal favourite photographs are the ones of people. And whenever I look back at the old photographs, I always think, what kind of lives did those people live? What was going on at that time? But whenever I even look back at the photographs of the 80s, one thing I would always love to have done is to get the same photograph today of the same people. And I always think that's, what are they doing now?
Compare.
Just to compare.
So if you want to see these, we have put a link up on our Facebook, facebook.com/BBC Radio Ulster. Speaking of photographs of people and how times were different. Now, this is from many years ago. It's a photograph of the newspaper boys from the Belfast Telegraph. I think this is around Shaftesbury Square.
Yeah, Shaftesbury Square.
Even first glance at this, apart from the fact that the older people in the photo are wearing bowler hats, moustaches, the paper boys look maybe 8 or 9 years old. A lot of them aren't. In fact, none of them. One of them is wearing shoes. The rest of them are all barefoot. Tell me about that photo.
Well, it's the Tally Boys, and the Tally Boys, who later became known as the Newsboys and had their own club, and they just basically sold the Belfast Telegraph on the streets, and that's actually up until quite recently. When you had the young boys shout the 6 Tally, and whenever you look at that photograph, and as you say, there's young kids getting out to earn pennies in their bare feet, in all wellers. And Belfast at that time was all cobbled streets, so all these granite blocks, and I'm sure their feet were freezing. And one of the remarkable things too about the young people, the young boys doing that is in saying it's the hardship endured by them, and it's not only because they had bare feet, but because of the way they lived and the way that they weren't properly fed, they didn't get proper medical attention, they didn't even get dental treatment.
And this probably wasn't a case of going out to get pocket money to buy sweets. This was probably to help support the family.
That would have been going straight to your mum.
In this photograph, there's like I say, it's at Shaftesbury Square. There's about 20, maybe 30 paper boys, all dressed. I think it's in black. It's hard to tell because it's a black and white photograph with little hats, and there's a horse-drawn cart there with a man on top of it throwing out the newspapers for them to. It's fascinating. And once again, just from that, it takes you to a different time.
Yep, and tells a complete different story. Yeah,
it does. From that, let's go to this one, which 1983, I think this one is. This actually could be a lot of people that work in the BBC. Describe that one for me, Joe.
Well, it's I can't remember. I think it's a gentle photographer by the name of Bill Kirk, and that's one that he done. In the 1980s, he went around Belfast and took photographs. And whenever his book came out at the time, the people would have thought no big deal of it. They'd have thought, no, so what? But when you look back at it now, and the picture in question, it shows 2 punk rockers at at Arthur Square, which a lot of people call Corn Market. And what was normal in the 80s is on a Saturday afternoon, all the punks would have went down to Arthur Square. And they just sat there, hung out, drunk their cider. And
there's some hairdos. There's a
Yeah.
man and a woman in this. The lady is wearing a sleeveless leather jacket. The guy is wearing a black leather jacket with matching leather gloves, and they have the maddest, spikiest blonde hair that I've ever seen, and the DM boots, and lots of bracelets, etc. And it's funny that you mentioned that this is what was kind of common at the time. And if you go into, especially whenever the schools are off, if you go into Belfast, the front of City Hall, a lot of young people with certain dress senses like to gather there. I know, was it emo and slightly goth kind of
goths, yeah.
styles? And so that's what's happening now. That's what they're doing.
Well, incidentally, on that photograph, somebody had put up the picture of the goths at the City Hall. And if you can imagine, in our 30 years' time, they're going to be. But, going back to the two punks, you have to remember, those people in their mid-50s now, and they're going to have, I don't know if they're going to have them together or not, but they're going to have children and families.
Well, is that you?
That's something, if that was your dad, I don't know about you, but I would look back at that with immense pride.
Well, this is it, because it's rebellion, in that photograph. Yeah. What do you think are we changing? Are we losing out a little bit now when it comes to photographs? We take a lot of them digitally and we don't print them off sometimes, and then we lose memory space, we delete, we lose phones, whatever it might be. And then the art of, I know this is digital, but the photograph being printed off and having that physical copy, I think, are we losing that?
Yeah, and yes, you are right, but it's down till what we would refer to as the iPod age. That the turn around and say that when the iPod came out, that the iPod was going to replace books. I don't think anything will ever replace books. And I think in the same context, photographs are the same. It's okay getting a computer up and looking at an old photograph, but it'll never ever beat holding the original in your hands and studying it. But from our point of view, that whenever we put it out on our Facebook page, it's the next best thing. And when you see how popular the page is, it's only 5 months old and it has just under 20,000 followers.
It just
shows the interest that there is within it.
There's another photograph here. This is from Castle Place, taken around 1910, it says. And I know people will tut and say you should have known this, but I wasn't aware until quite recently that Belfast had trams for years and years. Tell me more about this photograph here.
The trams, see, from our point of view for dating photographs, the trams are perfect because in 1905 up until 1905 you had horse-drawn trams.
Yes.
And after 1905 you had electric trams. So whenever you look at the photograph and there's no horses, then you know it's after 1905, and then it's just a matter of working it. But Belfast had an extensive tram system, a really, really, really good tram system. And then after that, of course, came the trolley buses. And whenever you look at cities like Dublin, who are putting their tram systems back, you have to ask yourself, was it really worthwhile losing it?
Well, see, this is the thing, and maybe in hindsight it wasn't. It also goes to show how things have changed. A lot of these buildings are still here. The Provincial Bank, which is now Tesco, the really iconic Primark building in town, and they're all in this photograph as well. And I guess you would say all the dress accustomed to that time, 1910. Do you think a lot of these buildings are still here today? But given the history of Northern Ireland and everything from the Troubles to property development and just general wear and tear and buildings being torn down, one of the things that this site does is shows people maybe to an extent what we're missing out on.
Well, one of the things that we put up, just as you mentioned, the old Primark of what's now Primark is the old Bank Buildings department store, and whenever we put up the photographs of Rob's, the Co-op, Robinson and Cleaver, all the department stores and photographs inside, that's when people realise what's lost.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have any proper department stores left. But the last one was Woolworths. And I think today we'd have Marks and Spencer's,
but even the physical, just the buildings themselves.
The buildings were beautiful. And whenever you look at what the buildings had survived, it's just sad that you had beautiful buildings surviving the German Blitz and then the recent Troubles, and they survived that, and then developers come along and tear it down and put a horrible thing up.
It's in the eye of the beholder. I guess things do change and things move along, and things can sometimes develop. I think that to an extent we are maybe realising now, like the nationwide building in town, which is being redone kind of preserved and made into a hotel. So we're, instead of knocking things down, we're kind of regenerating what's there and trying to conserve some of that history. But Joe, unfortunately, we've no more time for tonight, but I could talk to you until 11 o'clock to the end of the programme. But this site, if people want to find it, it's facebook.com and Old Belfast Photographs.
Yes,
Is that
that's
right?
correct, yeah.
Thank you very much for coming down.
Not a problem.
And good luck with the project. You've got 50 a week that you're putting out.
On average, 50 a week
But
photos.
how many would you say that you have?
About 10,000.
There you go. It'll be there for a while. Joe, thank you very much. We'll be talking to Adrian Pelt with our alternative news review in just a few minutes.